guys, so today I'm filming the next video in my collection and overview series. Today's video is going to be all about my bronzer and contour powders. So if you guys have not seen any of my other makeup collection videos, I'll have them linked down below. I do have my entire makeup collection and storage video for 2016. I have done a foundation collection and overview and a palette collection and overview. So like I said, all of those will be linked in the description box. I will also have all of the bronzers and contours listed and linked in the description box as well, and let's just jump right in. So I have quite a few bronzers and contour powders in my collection, way more than I need, but to make sure that I actually get proper use out of all of them, I have designated a specific bronzer and contour powder for each season so that those products get some love. Unfortunately, I do have more than 4 bronzers and more than 4 contour powders, so I have some extras here that I'm trying to get use out of as well. So some of these products I'm unsure about whether I want to keep or not. Some of these are holy grail must-have, so I will get into all of the details. I have mostly powder products, but I have 2 cream bronzers and I have a contour palette. So before we talk about the bronzers and contours themselves, I wanted to talk about the brushes that I use to apply them. So I am a very fair skin tone. I am an NC15 in MAC, but I am not afraid of bronzer. I wear it every single day and I really love it. So if you are fair skin, do not be afraid. I have some amazing products that I want to share with you that I really encourage you guys to try out. And any skin tone can wear bronzer. It really depends on the color of your bronzer and the brush you use to apply it. So if you are fair like me, I recommend applying your bronzer with a stippling brush. I use the e.l.f. stippling brush. That way you get that really beautiful sun-kissed look without looking like big blocks of brown color on your face. I use this every single day. It does a great job of getting around the sides of my face just to help bronze up and look as natural as possible. So I really think that using a stippling brush is key. And then to contour, I use my Sigma F05 small contour brush, and I personally only contour in the hollows of my cheeks. I will go in with a darker color right here to help chisel the cheeks. I do not take a contour powder along my jawline, my temples, or my forehead, or the sides of my nose. I feel like that is when it can look way too overdone on my face personally. So I just prefer to bronze all over with a stippling brush and go in with a more dense brush and a deeper color just in the hollows of my cheeks. So now just jumping right into the bronzer and contour collection. First I want to talk about the cream bronzers I have. These are both from ColourPop. The first one I have is Paradise Cove, which is a satin finish. This one does have a sheen to it, and this is one of the lighter shades, so I do find it to be very flattering for my skin tone. Then I have Skinny Dip, which is a matte finish, which I believe is the second lightest shade, which again works really well for my skin tone. So I think these bronzers are okay. I do have some trouble getting them on a brush. I use the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush and the Real Techniques Contour Brush. I feel like those are dense enough to really pick up the product. So I find that I have no trouble applying the contour to the hollow of my cheeks, but when I try to bronze all over, that's when I have more difficulty, because with these products I can't really blend them well. So just applying it in the hollow of my cheeks, I want it to be a little bit more strong, so I'm totally cool with that. But when I want to blend it out and go around the sides of my face, it just ends up looking a little intense or splotchy. So honestly, these ColourPop bronzers are just okay. If I could go back in time, would I purchase these? No, I do not think they are a necessity. They're not the worst product ever, but they aren't easy to work with. So moving on to my powder bronzers and contours, I first want to show you which ones I have designated for each season, then I'll get into the extras, and then I'll talk about the contour kit. So starting with my spring bronzer and contour, I have both of the unfortunately limited edition Milani matte baked bronzers. These are absolutely amazing. If I can find links for these on eBay or Amazon, I'll have them down below. I really hope Milani will bring these back and make them permanent. I think they're fantastic. So both of these are very warm tone, but I don't feel like they look too orange on my skin tone. I'm wearing them both today and I find that it is very flattering. Again, I go in with a light hand and I use those particular brushes. So the lightest shade is a Sunset, and this is the one that I use to bronze. And the darker shade is Sienna, and this is what I use to contour. I have re-fallen in love with these bronzers this spring season, and Honestly, I think these are like holy grail to me. I love that they are warm tone. I feel like it still looks very flattering on my skin. Even though this is warm, I'm using it as a contour and I really like it. I don't think that you have to use ashy tone products to contour. I have a lot of ashy tone products that I love, but these are warm and I absolutely love them. I think the formula is amazing. It is very, very pigmented, smooth. These are more of a satin finish. They have a tiniest bit of a sheen to them, which in my opinion just makes them melt into the skin better. It doesn't look so powdery or chalky. I think that these have an amazing formula. Fantastic, fantastic colors. I love the way they apply. And these also kind of smell like cocoa powder. So if you can get your hands on these, definitely recommend them. They are some of my absolute favorite bronzers. Then moving on to my summer bronzer and contour. For bronzer, I have the Estee Lauder Bronze Goddess in the shade number 1 Light. This is a warm tone bronzer with some golden shimmer, which is why I like to use this to bronze and not to contour. I don't mind using bronzers with a sheen to contour, but if it has actual shimmer, I just like to use it to bronze. This is a really nice product, very pigmented and blendable. I think that the color is nice for the summer. I think this is a nice product, but I'm not obsessed with it. I am using it because I got this as a free gift, but I wouldn't go out of my way to purchase this. The formula is great, but it's not my favorite color. But if you do buy it full size, it's about this big, which is more bronzer than you can ever use up in your lifetime. So you definitely are getting your money's worth in the full size. Then for my summer contour, I'm using the Sleek Contour Kit in the shade Light. This is more of a warm undertone, but I don't feel like it pulls too orange. This is a really, really beautiful shade. It is a bit deep, which is why I only use it in the hollows of my cheeks and not as a bronzer. This is very, very pigmented, smooth, and blendable. Absolutely love this. I don't ever use the highlight. I don't think it's that special, but the contour is absolutely a must-have for me. I use this every single summer. Definitely recommend this if you have not tried it out before. Moving on to my fall bronzers and contour powders. For the bronzer, I am using the Revlon PhotoReady Bronzed and Chic Bronzer. Unfortunately, this has been discontinued. I'm still very salty about it because Revlon has nothing comparable in their permanent collection. My friend Jean sent me a backup, which I'm very happy about. I would highly recommend looking for this on Amazon or eBay if it isn't too expensive, because this is amazing. So there are 4 different tones of matte bronzer here, which I think makes this work for a lot of different skin tones. As you can see, I have hit pan on this shade here. I tend to focus my brush in these 2 shades to bronze, and I will sometimes use these 2 to contour. I can mix them all together, but then I will get a more intense, deeper look. So I usually just go with these shades here. This is very, very pigmented, creamy, blendable, smooth. I find that it does not look patchy whatsoever. This is the best drugstore bronzer I've ever used. I think it is amazing. I definitely think the quality is right up there with high-end bronzers. I love this so much. Definitely would consider this to be holy grail. Then for my fall contour, I'm using theBalm's Bahama Mama. This is what the packaging looks like. And this is what the actual product looks like. This is my deepest contour in my collection, but I am still able to make it work. I find that this is a shade that works for a lot of different skin tones. This is very, very pigmented, smooth, and creamy. I have heard from some people that this is patchy on them, and I've also heard from some people that this pulls a little bit green when you swatch it. I find that it works out really well on my skin tone, but like I said, this is a product I only use in the hollows of my cheeks because it is a little bit intense. I just make sure I use a little bit of product and blend it out really well. I never have problems with it being patchy on me, but that might be because I really powder my face first. If you are someone that puts cheek products right on top of sticky foundation, yeah, you're probably going to have some patchiness, but I love this. I think it is amazing. I think this shade, like I said, does work for a lot of people. It is a really nice, cool undertone that isn't too gray. And then I have my winter bronzer and contour powder. These were the first bronzer and contours that I really ever tried and fell in love with. I have used up an entire one of the bronzer and the contour and have repurchased them since, which I think is a pretty big deal. And like you can see, I've tried out several bronzers since these 2, but they have definitely withstood the test of time for me and are still favorites. So for my winter bronzer, I use Benefit's Hoola. And this is what Hoola looks like. On my skin tone, this pulls to be a neutral undertone, which I think is amazing. If you are deeper than me, it will probably look a little bit more cool tone on you. This is a lighter shade, but it shows up really, really well in my skin tone, and I do go in with that stippling brush to make sure it isn't too intense. Again, very pigmented, creamy, blendable, smooth. I think that this is an amazing, amazing bronzer. This shade is absolutely fantastic for my skin tone. I love that it is neutral, not warm, not cool, but that perfect neutral shade on my skin. So absolutely love and recommend this one. It took me like 3 years to finish up using it every single day, so highly recommend this. Then for my winter contour powder, I have my NYX Blush in Taupe. They have gotten rid of this blush line. Now they have the HD blush range. They do have the Taupe shade in that range, but the color is not exactly the same. I have heard that most people prefer the formula and the color of the old instead of the new, so I would look for this online if you can. If you cannot find it, I think the new still does work well from what I've heard, but this is the old. This is amazing. This is a very, very light, cool undertone product that works fantastic to contour. I think that this would look strange if you used it up on your temples or your hairline. I think this is a product, in my opinion, that really should just go in the hollows of the cheeks. It does create that natural shadow, but it can pull a little bit gray depending on your skin tone, but I love this. Because it is a blush, I feel like it's even more pigmented and creamy. Love this. Blends out fantastically. Like I said, I have used up one of these and repurchased. Definitely, definitely love this one, especially in the winter time when I'm wearing more cool tone products. Then I have 3 other bronzer and contour powders that I have not picked out for a specific season. The first one I have is the Bourjois Chocolate Bronzer in the shade number 51. My mother and sister picked this up for me from England when they went for my sister's senior trip. This is what it looks like. This is super warm. This is orangey. I only wear this in the summertime, and it is just a little too orange for my skin tone. If you're more of a medium skin tone, I think you can make it work. Even when I go in with a light hand, I feel like it just pulls too orange. This is a pigmented and creamy formula, but I never reach for it because of the shade. I think 52 isn't as orangey, so I want to play with this some more. Maybe I'll give it to somebody else. I just feel bad giving it away, and it is super cool. I can't just pick it up at my local drugstore, so definitely don't use this one. Not a favorite of mine. Then I have the newest bronzer to my collection. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I think the packaging is so cute. I'm sure you guys have heard a ton about this recently. I have the second shade bronzer. The shade Light Bronzer is so light, even I wouldn't wear it, so I wouldn't waste your time with that. I would go right for the bronzer shade. This is a beautiful, beautiful color that works out really, really well for fair skin tones. This does have more of a satin finish, so again, I feel like that makes it look really natural on the skin and not too powdery or chalky looking. And this does have a pretty strong scent to it. It's like a coconut sunscreen scent. I don't smell it when it's on my face, but I definitely smell it in the pan and when I'm applying it, but I quite like this scent. I was able to get this one for 40% off with a $4 peel off coupon. I got it for $5. For $5 especially, I think everyone must have it. I have used this as a bronzer and a contour. I love it both ways. As a contour, it is a little bit more natural, so if you do like a very natural contour, definitely recommend this one. I think it is a fantastic shade. If you have fair skin and have been afraid of bronzer, this is the #1 bronzer I would recommend for you to try because of the color. The formula is amazing, so I definitely think that this is totally worth the hype, and I need to integrate this into a specific season to wear it. I definitely think that I would like this most in the springtime, and then I can move my Sunset bronzer to the summertime instead of using the Estee Lauder, because I do like both of these more than the Estee, but I'm really not sure. But I definitely have been using this recently and giving it some love. This is amazing. And then my last leftover product is one of the MAC Sculpting powders in the shade Sculpt. This is the second lightest shade. This is neutral leaning cool. I think this is a really great product. It is pigmented without being overly pigmented, but this is a really buildable product. I love this to contour. I think that this shade will work for a lot of skin tones for the fact that it is buildable. This is one that I definitely neglect. I think it's an amazing product and a really great color, but I tend to prefer theBalm's Bahama Mama Sleek Contour Kit and my NYX Blush in Taupe over this one. So I thought about getting rid of it, but then I used it recently and I really liked it. So I think I'm gonna keep it, but I definitely need to use it more and really decide whether I'm gonna keep it or give it to somebody else. But I would recommend the sculpting powders. They come in 5 or 6 shades, which I think is pretty impressive. So it's a good product, but one that I definitely neglect. And lastly, I have a contour kit. So many brands have put out contour kits, and with most of them, there's only 1 or 2 shades that would work for me. So I couldn't really justify the price of a contour kit when I have some individual products that work just as well for my skin tone. But when the Lorac Pro Contour Kit came out, I thought, wow, I think those shades can really work for me. So this is what the palette looks like. You have a more beigey pinky tone setting powder, a yellow tone setting powder, a shimmer highlight. Then we have 3 contour powders, a very, very light cool tone, a very dark cool tone, and a medium neutral warm tone. So I like to use this one as a bronzer and these as contour powders. I do usually mix these to set under the eyes, and I use this as a highlight. I should have known that I wouldn't like this because I do not like Lorac Pro shadows, but I don't mind a more powdery formula on the cheeks. But no, I just didn't enjoy this. I have got huge dents in the setting powders and I've used them probably 6 times. I think that's insane. You will definitely be going through this product quickly, especially for these powders here. I think this contour shade is amazing. One of the lightest contour shades I've ever seen. So I feel like this would be awesome if you're wanting to really, really heavily chisel your cheeks because it is such a light shade. You will really get that sculpted look without being so over the top intense because of that light shade. So I need to use this more, but honestly I'm not impressed. I don't like the way that the shimmer highlight looks on the skin. I don't like the formula of these at all. The shades are great. Even though this one is dark, I can make it work if I apply just a slight bit, but everything else works for my skin tone. Yellow's a little bit dark, but I can work with it. But just the formula is not for me. I would love it if Kat Von D sold her contour kit in little duos because the lightest highlight and contour would work really well for me, but I just don't need this. I fell into the hype of contour kits, and like I said, I have several different bronzers and contours that I love. I have a brightening under eye setting powder that I love, so I didn't need this. So for my bronzer and contour wish list, I would love to try out the NARS Laguna bronzer and the Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder in the shade medium. I've heard amazing things about those, but they are a little bit expensive for me. So that was my bronzer and contour collection and overview. Please let me know your thoughts if you've tried out any of these products, and I would love to know what are your must-have bronzers and contours. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.